So good morning,
morning.
Sarah Kudre, and thank you so much for granting us, Cambodianess, and also to my digital media, the opportunity to come to the temple of West Mebon here in the middle of the West Baray in Siem Reap province. And Sarah, I mean, the restoration of West Mebon has been going on, of course, on and off since the 1930s, which is almost a century now.
Yeah.
And this is one of the latest stage in the restoration of the temple. So Sarah, can you please explain to us, or maybe our Cambodian audiences, in simple term and also a little bit of technical term, since the 1930s itself, how many restoration have been done, and what are each specific stages?
So here in the West Mebon, it was like all the temples in Angkor area. It has been discovered and analyzed by archaeological from École Française d'Extrême-Orient, the EFEO. So at the beginning of the 20th century, we knew that there was this temple in the middle of the Baray. But we had in 1920, we had first intervention, but it was more archaeological intervention to study it. And we have to wait 1936 because one villager one day came to see the archaeologist in EFEO with some bronze hand, and the Naga head in bronze too. So it was a really rare artifact that has been discovered. And so it was Henri Marchal who came to do some diggings in the middle of the center island. But in this time it didn't find something. But we need to wait the end of 1936 of the same year, because one villager came again to see Mr. Marchal, and he said that, Mr. Marchal, I had a dream, and in my dream the Vishnu came to me to find him in the middle of the center island in the West Mebon temple.
Which is right behind over there.
Right behind there, yeah, exactly. Okay. So Mr. Marchal came again with his team, and by digging exactly where the villager told him to, they found indeed the reclining statue of Vishnu. So for now, like you know, it's the biggest bronze statue that has been found in Cambodia. And that was the main discovery, in fact, in this temple. But we need to wait some years after, 1943, to start the first restoration as we know. So this was a restoration made by Maurice Glaise, another archaeologist from EFEO. And he started to do like it was most done, let's say, in an archaeological area, to do some anastylosis. Sorry.
Anastylosis, yeah.
So that means it's not a proper restoration like we used to now. It's more like emergency restoration and documentary vision to rebuild the temple. Not every temple, not just a part, to let people understand how it was before. So in this restoration, it's just restore the eastern facade. So this is the facade that we can see over there. He rebuilt 2 towers that was collapsed at this time, and 2 walls. And by doing that, so yes, you use these anastylosis techniques and using some concrete and some cement, but it was like they used to at this time. So, but we will know after that maybe it wasn't a good idea for this kind of sandstone because it's very fragile. And then, so nothing really happened during 70 years. Because, like you know, in Cambodia, everything has been stopped with the civil war. And when the restoration work started again, the French were occupied by restoring the Bapuan temple.
Oh, I see. So they restored the Bapuan first, and then they come here. They come to West Mebon again.
Technically, the Mebon was okay. With the first restoration on the 40s, people, okay, we did the job. But when the French restorer came back in 2011, they discovered again the Mebon, and for example, the facade that was just rebuilt, it was already collapsing again. So they had to start a new restoration project, and in fact this is the same restoration project that we are still working on, so for 12, 13 years now. And just so the thing is, it was not enough to just rebuild and do the anastylosis work. They had to work on the foundation of the temple, because if not, it's going to collapse again. Because the main thing of this temple is that it's the middle of the Baray, so with the water around, the foundation just disappeared by time. So yeah, the first work that FAO did, so archaeological surveys obviously, but they had to rebuild some foundation by using between old and new techniques. So this technique is to create new compact soil foundation, by using envelopes, let's say, so doing mattress of compact soil with geogrid and geotextile. And with this technique, they could do it again, like do new foundation and then rebuild the inner step, because over there you have steps going into a big pond. So by doing all the steps after that, they could rebuild step by step the walls and the towers.
I see, Sarah, but for example, in other temples, because the foundation are mostly soil, surrounded, of course, by big or small moat, but not on the size of, a Baray,
exactly.
or maybe the largest Baray in Siem Reap. So, in terms of deterioration, like, how damaged is this temple? I mean, of course, since the older time, I mean, is it because of the water level, or maybe the open space, the lack of tree?
Yeah, I think
it's all at once, I think?
Yeah, we have the main two factors. It's so the natural factor and the human factor. So the natural one is, like we said, we are in the middle of the Baray, and by having this huge amount of water every time, by time the foundation were eroded every time. And even if it seems to be very quiet waters, sometimes here we can have big storms with wind, with rain and everything, and especially coming from the west side. So from the west, it's more damaged now because you have more wind, you have more waves, and by time after the collapsing of the towers and all the elements, some stones have been like moved by the water. Yeah. So you have this, and after that you have the trees, obviously, but this is like every temple in Angkor. And then, yes, you have the human factor, because this is the same thing, for example, in Europe, that we have sometimes when the temple or where the building is abandoned, you have an amount of stones already cut, already prepared. So sometimes people can just take some stones and use them to the houses, use them for other purpose.
So sometimes you cannot find those missing stones.
Exactly. So in Western temple, for example, in the West Mebon temple, for example, the east side was most preserved, because maybe here we had this island created by time, let's say. But on the west we have a lot of missing stones. And another example is that we have so the walls, like you see here. Sometimes every time we have some blocks with sculpture, like the one you have. So, but we are missing the big blocks below. So we are not able to put back some stones because
it cannot bear the weight of the top.
No, because the stones are missing. The simple stones, let's say, are missing because human factor and everything. So yeah, both. But the natural one is a big one, obviously.
I see, Sarah. But on the other hand, for example, you mentioned the use of a geogrid or maybe the use of a compact soil. So is there any other modern technique that you use to strengthen the temple? Let's say?
Here we had to use some concrete
also.
again, unfortunately, to have a good base, let's say, to rebuild the walls and rebuild the towers. After that, we have some modern techniques to restore the stones, because some of the stone, it's very fragile. It's a sandstone, so it has been underwater for a long time. So it's like
it becomes soft, something like that.
Yeah, it can soft, and it's kind of the skin is missing sometimes, or the skin is disappearing. So that's why the work of the restoration team is important, because they are using some new techniques, like doing injection, doing some little mortar fixation things. So yeah, the new techniques are more for the restoration work, because overall the work like we are doing is a lot of like it was used to. So we have a lot of work by hand. Sometimes we are using some pin, for example, to clamp the stone between it. But we know that it was the same in Angkorian period. They used to use pins too. So it's just the material is not the same, but the technique is evolved.
But all the stone are new stone.
We have original stone, as you can see. For example, the first steps on in laterite, they are original. For example,
okay.
And as you can see for the Naga balustrade, we have maybe half pieces from original stones. So that was a good thing, because we could understand better how it was, even if we still have some interrogation, but at least it was more or less like this.
So for example, this part over here, this is the older one.
Yeah, this is the older one. So you have, for example, here some carving that shows that here you had the Naga head.
A Naga head.
Yeah.
So you will replace it with a Naga head somehow.
We still have to figure out for this restitution or not, but at least for this block, we know with this carving it was on the extremity of the causeway. So this was a really good information.
That bit really offers a lot of information where it is placed.
So now, for example, we have some pieces from the Naga support, for example, so that we are put it back and we complete by new.
I see.
To have a good stability for the Naga balustrade.
But for example, if the older material is used with the newer one, I mean, do you think the weight distribution is, it's okay? It's
okay. Yeah, because they have some skin problems, but for the stability, it's really good. It's still okay. Yeah. And it's the same stone, the same nature of stone, so we don't have problem about incompatibilities or these kind of things.
So it will hold more or less the same way. So this is all compact earth?
This is all compact soil, yeah, with the same technique. We use the same technique here for the foundation. So compact soil with zero grid and geotextile. Because in fact, all the causeway and most of the center island, when it's going to be rainy season, we will have the level of water in the town that will really go high.
I see.
We know more or less how high it can be, but we are not sure exactly what level it will be. So we think this whole area will be underwater during the rainy season. So that's why we need to have something natural with natural material, because if we put some concrete, for example, concrete with water,
they don't go together.
Yeah, exactly. So, but trying to have some techniques that can resist, all techniques that can resist with water too. So that's why we are working more with some mortar, hydraulic mortar, or some pieces of lead, for example. We will try to not put some pin and everything to keep the most natural techniques. But if the stability is compromised, we can use this kind of techniques.
But in the past, as I was informed, temples also use the metal clamp.
Yeah.
So the metal clamp is still used in present restoration also?
Yeah, the metal clamp are used here, most for the towers.
Oh,
Because we have the original shape of the original clamps.
Yep.
So we know that we can put back some new clamps.
So there used to be a well here normally.
Yeah. So this is the center island, and like I said, so over there you had some a threshold. This was the main configuration, the first configuration, and over here with this, we know that this is the center, like I told you, the center of all the temple. And over there we had the tubular artifact in this position with his platform. And in front of this, over there, you had the Vishnu platform.
Oh, but where is the platform now? I mean, if I may ask.
It's over there. It's because it has been, we test the block. So we did pre-assembly work to see if it's working, to check the position of the block. And after, when we try over there, when we will finish the paving, we still have one layer of new stone to put, and after we will be able to put back and reassemble the Vishnu platform.
And also some of the tower over there, they will be recreated at the same time.
But like I said, for the west, it's the most damaged facade of the temple, because with the wind and the waves, all the blocks have been moved. So we have a lot of difficulties to find the good position, because most of the elevation, most of the elements, when FAO starts to work, they did some, they put some notes, to know the position of the blocks. But from the west, we don't have these notes, because they were starting the project, and so they didn't do in that time. So that's why we're working by checking the blocks with some old picture from FAO, and by trying some places, different places. And that's how, for example, the knowledge of the workers is very important, because the workers can see, okay, this block, it cannot go there, but this block I think is going to be there. And that's a very good job that we're doing, trying position, but with the knowledge from the other towers and the work that has been done.
I see, but Sarah, for example, in future restoration, if the new towers require so many new stone, do you think it is possible to just construct the tower out of nowhere, or you just leave it like that?
That's one of the questions we're working on, for example, because the main tower, the 18, there is a lot of missing stone. So we are thinking maybe this tower will not be completely achieved. We will maybe just stop after the door frame, for example, because if we continue, if you want to rebuild,
there's nothing original.
Yeah, exactly. We will have more new than original, and then the balance will not be the good one. So that's one of the work we are working on, and we will present it for the ICC expert on June.
I see.
But yeah, that's exactly what we talk about, the balance between the new and original. But keep the stability, keep the shape of the temple. So for me, the main challenge is to keep the authenticity of the temple. But this is for every temple. Because every project restoration, in fact, it's a balance between the new and the old, and to have something natural,
I see, Sarah. But also another point on of course, the technicality of a building or maybe restoring this temple, because, in normal building architecture, you just bring in new material all the time, because, it's a new building, of course. But in older building, you cannot just do that. You also need to, weigh the decision between using the older one or making compromises to use the new one. So what is your daily job, on the daily basis? Do you make those decisions all the time?
So this is the main project, in fact, because like I said, we have a lot of missing pieces. So if we want to rebuild all the temple, 100%, with some part we will have some new area, really big new area. So on the project, with the inventory of the stone, we could do simulation and see what was the quantity between the new stone and the original stone. And that's the main work, to have the good balance between the two. And for that, we have the UNESCO committees twice a year, where we have some international experts coming, and so they're here to help us to understand and to find a good compromise, because sometimes you can have, we can decide, okay, here we will have to put a lot of new, but if we don't put these new stones, in fact, we cannot put the top of the tower, for example. So it's a balance that we need to do, not every day because it was on the project, but yeah, it's something we need to take care of. And even for the sculpture thing. So even if today you will see some new stone, by time they will have the same patina, because this sandstone with the rain and everything is going to take the same color. But one of the project decision was to have the same surface treatment. And like this, for example, in 100 years or something, if some people want to know which part is the restored one and which part is the original one, they can see with surface treatment.
You mean like the chiseling of...
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. So all the sculpture, all the treatment of the stone, it's with the same technique.
Yes, Sarah, but on the larger scale of the construction, I mean, what are the main part that you are currently restoring? Because the temple is very large. So basically, the project aims to restore the entire temple as a whole, including the embankment and also the sculpture. For example, behind me over here, this is maybe a Shiva Lingam.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it is. Yeah.
So the aim is to restore the whole temple to its former glory.
The aim is to restore everything, to welcome again all the visitors, to present this temple to everyone, because it's not just like I say, a technical work and technical temple, but it's a spiritual one too. So we have a lot of people coming because we still have some path, for example, for visitors. And the main goal is to bring the stability of the temple, obviously, but to recreate this spiritual temple and to be able to welcome people again to be here.
I see. But you mentioned just now, for example, in the future we need to make the later generation know that, okay, this stone is new, that stone is the original. So you say that we have to make the surface very distinct, like different from each other. But at the same time, some of the temple or the tower, you also do some, let's say, basic carving. So you also need to do some basic carving, even though it also looked like the old, the original
exactly,
one.
because that was same thing. It was one of the project decision made with UNESCO expert. If we were just putting some new stone, it would have been a little strange, So when we know how and what is the drawing, what is the sculpture, we can, let's say, do it again. We can copy the original drawings. But when we don't know, for example, in this temple, we have a lot of little scene with animals and people. And sometimes when it's missing, we don't know if it was people or an animal or something else. So in this case, we just don't do, because we cannot invent a new drawing.
I see.
So we just do when we can, copy, and when we have the original continuity, but if not, we don't do.
So, for example, the basic motif like flowers,
flowers,
pattern,
naga, and everything.
But for example, the mythology, something like that, the gallery.
Exactly, we cannot
have
invent.
to be very careful about that.
Exactly. So we cannot create a new methodology. So we keep it. We do the frame, and that's it. Surface treatment, and we keep like that.
Yes, Sarah. But because of course a temple in Cambodia is a religious place, but at the same time, some expert I heard they say that, okay, this place is also a place where they measure the water level, something like that, because there's a well in the middle. So do you think, based on your scientific reason or perspective, do you think this temple has the ability to predict scientific measurement, for example, ancient technology, something like that?
That's a good question, and
Yeah.
it's one of the interrogation that we don't know yet, because and this temple in fact is very unique for the shape, for the techniques used, and for this kind of meanings, because we don't know exactly why. Maybe there was like a spiritual reason to put water inside the water, but yeah, I think maybe they can use it, like you said, for scientific helps or something. But yeah,
But we still do not know.
We don't know.
What is it
there is a lot of
exactly.
hypotheses still going on, even on the Center Island, for example. Now we know more or less what was on it, but how it was how two things were together or not. So still a lot of questions ongoing. That's the difficulties, in fact, of the restoration work, because you do restoration, but you don't know exactly what was in back time. So
I see, Sarah. But this is on of course, the technical side. But how about on the human side, for example? My following question is that how many people are currently working here, or maybe staying here a bit more permanently, and also when we work on an island like this, the transportation is very, also a headache sometimes.
Exactly, yeah.
So also battling the weather, especially during the monsoon season, I think it's very, very hard to keep the water out. So I know you have been here for maybe a year or more than a year, but in this time frame, how do you feel about the challenges getting on and off the island to the city?
It's a big challenge. It's a really big challenge, because in fact it's just the water now. The West Baray is full of water for 2-3 years, something like that. So before, when the work start here, they will be able to have trucks coming, going out when it was dry season, for example. But now we are kind of stuck here with the water all around. So yes, it's a big challenge to organize the materials, to organize machines to come. So for example, we will have a new crane, but it has to be a mini crane to go on the boat, because if not, it's going to be too big.
I see.
And even for the transportation of the stones, for the sand, for everything. So yeah, it's a big challenge, but we are lucky enough to have these dikes that has been built at the beginning of the work, and without it we couldn't work on the rainy season, because the waters go until there. So, but we're still working for rainy season with some pumps, for example. We have some new solar pumps, for example, on the main pond, that helps us to remove all the water all the time. And with that, now we can work every day, every time. So.
It will be finished, but of course I don't think
hope.
the whole restoration will be finished, because it is again an old.
The first stage will be finished, we hope.
Yeah, and in that case, I mean, what do you hope to achieve at the end of the day? For example, you will flood the water back into the inner Baray or something like that?
At the end, because originally the temple was just only on the water. There were no dikes, there were no land all around. We think that there was some embankment, some banks on the eastern side to welcome the people coming here. So this is still undergoing, to see how we will be able to welcome people to visit, how many people, where they come from, and everything, how they will be visiting the temple. So this is part of the project we're still going on and working on. But yeah, when it will be finished, we will have no dikes, no land over there, and the water will come just on the temple directly.
And yes, Sarah, but for example, over the years, maybe you have heard from your previous restorer, project manager, how have the Cambodian team learned to do, let's say, to do stuff by themselves, and also to learn new technique, maybe from other international team and also from the French team. So throughout these years, how do you view their capacity in restoring the monument?
So yes, in this kind of example of West Mebon temple, it's work that has been here for years now. So in fact, we have kind of continuous formation between the workers, for example. When we have new workers, they are learning from the older ones. And yeah, so there is this transmission of knowledge between the people. And we have some information that have been delivered by the French embassy, for example, for more technical subjects like photogrammetry, like study for the engineering thing. So yes, we have this balance, let's say, between the old generation that they will transmit the knowledge to the new generation. And we have in this work, for example, it's interesting because we all come from different places. We have our own background, our own knowledge. So it's interesting to see how everyone can bring a new knowledge in here.
And also, for example, like new generation, they are more familiar with computer technology, digital stuff. But how about, the actual work of a chiseling stone?
So that's why here they have to learn. It's interesting to see how both techniques are using here, like manual techniques and the new techniques by doing photogrammetry with drones and everything. And we are lucky too because we have some workers from Artisan Angkor, and they are specialized in sculpture work. So they have their own formation, let's say, to do main sculptural restoration.
I see.
So between all of this, even if they are specialized, the other people can see how it's working, and that's a good thing to mix everyone in the same place.
And also one of the last question, Sarah, about why French like this temple so much?
That's a good question, but because technically French, I think they love all the temples.
Love all the temples.
Like we have seen by the
history. Nearly a century, long, on and off, but still, very, very lengthy project. Yeah.
So I think one of the most interesting thing here was the discovery of the Reclining Vishnu, obviously.
Yes, it's in France right now.
Yeah.
Also.
It's exactly been restored in France. And in that time, so French restorers were working on the Bapouan temple for 16 years, and it was a French architect, Pascal Royer, who was in charge of this mountain temple from the 11th century, massive one with a big challenge and everything. And then when the work was finished with the Bapouan, apparently they were aware that here there is this little temple in the middle of the Baray from the same century, 11th century. So here we have the same Bapouan style. And so it was not really, maybe it was a new challenge for them, but it was a good way to use the knowledge from the restoration of the Bapouan temple here in the Mebon one. And like we said, when they were here for the first time, they could see that some walls were collapsing. So there were an emergency to restore the temple anyway. It's just not because, it's famous because of Vishnu. Someone needed to intervene to start the restoration.
I see.
So maybe with all of this reason, I wasn't there, but.
I see. And also the last question, just to know your idea or maybe your memory, for example. When was actually the first time you hear about Angkor? Like maybe when you were young, or you saw it
when I was young,
on magazine or maybe TV or something like that. And do you expect to one day come, to the Angkor Park and restore one of the largest temples in Cambodia?
No, I wasn't expecting that.
So you hear.
I'm really lucky to be here, and this was kind of a surprise for me too. Because I didn't expect it that I didn't even know that French were here doing the work. So it was a surprise, and I'm really lucky and really happy to be here and contribute to the restoration of this temple.